Morning folks, Kevin here. Well, it's Thursday, May 16th, 2018, and I thought today, I thought yesterday, I'd take the GoPro and GoPro Hero 5, strap it to my chest, and this is going to be another first-person perspective video. So why am I making this particular video? Recently, David M. sent me an email indicating that he had been to a workshop or to an event, and he had met someone that was developing a homestead someplace in New York State. We're in New York State. We're in central New York near Lake Ontario. And he had mentioned that the question came up about what equipment would be recommended for contouring his property. And previously, in the video where I talked about removing the logs, the large logs that were on the edge of the terrace, I mentioned that during that video I mentioned that I really couldn't make specific recommendations because it's really based on the context. What is the situation? What is the topography, the climate, the general geographic area, the water sources, the soil substrate type, the slope of the land, what the goals are, all of those things. But that stimulated some thoughts on my part about potentially creating a playlist of some videos, and this I guess will be the first playlist one. And this isn't going to be a video that's for everyone because it's going to be about some of the equipment that I use on site. And so a couple of the pieces of equipment are Optimus Prime, which is the red tractor, red and white. It is a Case 995. I think it was born in 1974. I acquired it, I think it was 1980, and I've had it ever since. And it's just a front end loader. And I had always dreamed about getting a backhoe for the back of the tractor back then. And then as time went on, I realized I really didn't want a backhoe for it. I really wanted an excavator because of all of the various functions that could add that the front end loader couldn't do, and with a backhoe. And I'd have two pieces of equipment that could work in concert together. So I used both of these pieces of equipment for a multitude of different reasons, but I thought, well, let's shoot some video today, or yesterday actually, with a GoPro strapped to my chest showing how I'm removing the rock pile. So I'll stop right here for a second and head over to the rock pile. Okay, as I mentioned, we have the rock pile. It's here by Pond 2. It's been broken down some. I've been using the excavator to knock it down and use the Optimus Prime, the front end loader, to go in and scoop up some of them, transport them over to the area where the excavator picks up each one of the rocks and places them. If smaller ones, I pick them up by hand and place them. Then we use the dirt to fill in around it as well. So how did I get this pile? So as I mentioned in previous videos, we live in a gravel bed zone. This whole area is a rich resource of gravel bed. So my next two neighbors down this side to the east of us are two gravel mines. And so what we do is as we're digging a pond or digging a swale or digging a hole for a tree, and we run into big rocks, I pile them up over here. Large pieces of concrete, sometimes I put them here if I don't have another use for them in a different location. And we use them for retaining walls to decrease erosion. And in this case, I'm replacing those large logs that were along the leading edge, the top leading edge of the hugelkultur terrace. I wanted to put something a little more stable at the very top up there. Now they're still piled on many logs deep with dirt in between each log, and as time goes on these areas will compress some. But I'm going to be stepping this back on a slight slope, and but this video today is just to show you how I'm using each of these pieces of equipment in concert together to help me do something. Now, I know some people say you should get a thumb for your excavator. Now, a thumb is, so an excavator is like a scoop, a hand. You can reach out and you can grab dirt, or you can dig down through dirt and gravel and all. where you can slice off the surface of the topsoil and pile it in a different area. And it's absolutely wonderful. It's like a scoop, like a spoon. And it has teeth on the edge of an excavation bucket as opposed to a grading bucket, which is smooth edge. And so with this tooth bucket, often if you're picking up logs or you're picking up rocks, you use a thumb, which is another hydraulic driven appendage on the closer to you side opposing the bucket itself, and you can grasp rocks. Now I do have a thumb, I just haven't installed it yet, partially because of time, spending the time doing that, but really the main reason is that thumb probably weighs 110 pounds, I'm thinking. It's a really nice heavy-duty thumb, and it isn't a quick release one where I can take it off at times, and that adds more weight, and I'm often picking up large, much more than the capacity of the buckets of compost, and if it's wet and all, and I'm really reaching out and extending, well, the counterweight balance on the excavator will allow me to tip over, and that's dangerous. So I haven't installed the thumb yet. I've got to figure out how I'm going to deal with it. There's some punkies out here today, some black flies. But anyways, so what's going to follow in this is going to be boring for most people, but if you're interested in seeing a guy use a mini excavator and a tractor in concert or in succession, going back and forth and gradually building a retaining wall there, which isn't going to be a nice, beautiful looking one. I'll try to make it look as good as possible, but structural security, structural integrity is the most important element that I'm shooting for today. And if this is liked, if there's good comments about this, then what I'll do is I'm using different pieces of equipment, including these two pieces of equipment, to do other things. Like I used to do everything, use the front end loader to pick up rocks that I'd always be picking up from every site that I'm working, or scraps of logs, and nowadays I just pull it up to the rock pile, put the grading bucket on the excavator, and I load the bucket of the tractor with the excavator. So there's so many wonderful labor reducing aspects to having pieces of equipment like this, and I'm not suggesting that everybody should go out and buy these two pieces of equipment. I use these pieces of equipment so frequently it makes sense for me to own them. But if you're a homesteader, you may be thinking about, geez, how can I use these pieces of equipment, and then stage your rental of a piece of equipment for a time that's appropriate for you to accomplish several tasks on your property. You may be putting in fence line, you may be digging swales, you may be digging a pond, whatever it may be. And certainly equipment selection is based on, especially with the excavators on, based on the function that it needs to fulfill. So digging a huge pond, you want to get like a 30-ton excavator, building dams and that. For getting into tight spaces and working like I'm working, this mini excavator is ideal. So without any further ado, I'm gonna play some of these GoPro video clips. I'm not gonna edit them at all. It's just a camera strapped to my chest so you can see the perspective and all. Please feel free to leave a comment, ask questions, let me know if more of these sorts of videos you'd like it in a separate playlist would potentially be of value to you. So if you like this, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and by all means have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.